All right, everybody, welcome to episode 16 of Unfiltered Race Fans Only podcast. Blake took the courtesy of finally, we're 16 episodes in. We finally got around to setting up our Twitter, UF Race Fans. If you want to follow us, tag us, ask us questions, mention, you want to reach out because you want to join the show and have a discussion with us, like Kevin here or Matt from last week. We always, more people, the better. Just fans sharing experiences and what we love about the sport, we liked about the weekend, and just collecting everything about it. So with that, we're welcoming a new member to the party here, Kevin. So Kevin, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the race weekend. Floor is yours, sir.
All right, appreciate you guys having me. From Paducah, Kentucky. Grew up at the dirt tracks. My dad raced dirt late models for 30 years, and we always traveled to NASCAR races from age, I think, 10 until right up until COVID hit. We'd hit the Bristol night race every year, and then COVID hit, and that broke that streak.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I started a little side gig doing diecasts called KK's Diecast Community, and Mr. Barry has joined me as one of my main admins and helping me run it. So
It's awesome. Yeah, I see your wall of goodies in the back behind you. So
oh yeah, got
talk
a
about that
whole
before we
bunch
got
of stuff for
started.
sale.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a shelf up there like that in my storage room up on the second floor of my house that looks like that with all the boxes and everything for all mine that I'm in the process of bringing down like 20 at a time as I pack and prepare for us to relocate to our bar in New York. So yeah, but there's the shelves to the left also, like it goes out further, it looks like to the
It
yeah.
runs pretty much the full length of the basement wall down here.
Dang. All right. I'd love to see an inventory sheet of that one day, just see what
Yeah,
all you got. But well, welcome to the show. Look
Who's
forward
your
to
driver?
hearing your
I'm a Rowdy fan.
all right.
All right, Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
So that started what for you when he was Hendrick and
Um,
or when he became the candy guy.
well, yeah, in the five. I
Okay.
growing up, I was a Jeff Gordon fan, and then I became a Jeremy Mayfield fan because Jeremy used to go watch my dad race when my dad
Oh,
dirt, and my dad would race up around Owensboro, and Jeremy used to go watch my dad race when he was younger. So when Jeremy made it into Cup, we kind of ran into him, and he remembered Dad, and then they became friends. So we would always go see him at the track when we went. So that's how I kind of became a Jeremy fan there.
okay.
And yeah, when Kyle, I can't remember what year it was. He was running the five in Xfinity at Bristol, and I remember listening to him on the radio, and he took the lead, went into pit, speeded, went to the very back,
Yep.
went
No
all the
way.
way to the front again, and then got another penalty, went to the back, and then won the race, cussing the whole time because NASCAR got it wrong in his eyes.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
that's when I became a fan. So,
Okay.
and I've been a fan ever since. So,
Yep. You saw my little small collection of rowdy stuff over there and helmets.
yeah, so
So
helmets.
yeah,
I like the red, white, and blue one.
I got that one. So that one in particular is I'm honestly surprised they made him that year because it's got his rowdy energy on it. But that was during COVID when what's his name that used to Beam Designs. They took his logo off of it. That's his helmet. He made that thing. And JGR like clearanced him out because of that whole basically him speaking his opinion about COVID and all the masks and everything. So all those drivers dropped him or whatever. So he did that one and some others. So they basically just like flushed him and threw him out there. And yeah, I love that helmet. That's a gorgeous helmet. But they
Yeah.
didn't give him. They took his branding off of it and didn't give him any credit for it or whatever. And I remember reaching out to him and asking him like, "Didn't you design this?" And he's like, "Yep." Those mother like just losing his cool, going off about him.
Yeah.
So after all the NASCAR drivers kind of like turned their back on him for basically having an opinion, more or less. So,
Yeah. That was the All Star Weekend helmet, wasn't it? I
yep.
think that year.
Yeah, that year that he ran, that was the first year he ran the red, white, and blue M&M car. in the last generation Camry. The first one was DNP. The second one they actually made. I've got the second one, but the first
Yeah,
one was not produced. But
gotcha.
all right, so we'll go ahead and we'll get into the race weekend. Larson nearly swept the weekend, if not for one restart. Still waiting home with 3 wins, which is really impressive. He won the dirt race. He won the trucks to spin and win, which was that spin he had on the truck race. If anybody didn't see it,
Yeah.
was phenomenal. It reminded me of a Kyle Busch type save spin in the back, when they had the bigger tires and he could do that, or kind of like when Kyle saved it in the chocolate splashed M&M's car in Daytona, came back around and like sparking
Oh,
and everything, and
the
then
splitter sparking.
yep,
Yeah.
splitter sparking everything. So that was a masterful save, and then for that to come back through there to contend for the win and then to get the win was extremely impressive.
Yeah.
And
Looked
then,
like cold trickle to me.
yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And then, watching him come through, he was like a mile faster than everybody else in the Xfinity race. It wasn't even fair. And if his JRM non-co teammate from a year ago, who's now driving for Haas, doesn't jack the ass into the car up in the air on the restart, he's sitting there with the sweep.
I honestly don't think he wins, even if he doesn't get jacked up.
No, you don't think so?
That car was so bad on the short run. I don't think he could have held. The only one he could have held off was Austin Hill, in my opinion.
Maybe.
But
I don't know. See,
we'll
we
never
talked
know.
about this. I felt like if he had started on here's where I think he first made his mistake. He took the bottom, even though the bottom had been good for the launch all day. That was the problem with taking the bottom on the last restart is if you get lifted up, you can't drift up and you can't pinch anybody down because they're coming around you in every direction. So you're basically in no man's land, which is what happened to him. I felt like for the first time all day, I probably would have taken the outside because even if they push you, you're going to have all the momentum heading into the outside, and the outside line's where his car was best all day anyway, not on the bottom.
Yeah.
So I would have wanted to be up top and been able to try and hold the bottom car down instead of them pinching me down and split me too wide on each direction. So there's a couple things he said he would have done differently to probably go back and get that one. And then we move
Yep.
on to Sunday, and he didn't have the best car, but he definitely drove the best race overall. Uh,
Yeah.
I would like to have seen what would happen if Blaney hadn't blown an engine just to see, have him in the mix there because he was really fast too. But overall, definitely a Larson style weekend for the first time. So earlier in the year, Kevin, we all picked where, we went through track by track throughout the schedule and kind of picked who we thought would win where. We finally got one right. We haven't been, we've either been close or not even close at all for the first 5 before this. So we finally got one right. We all picked Larson for Miami and we all got him right. So,
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have a track where it's fastest against the wall, Larson's the guy.
yeah.
It's either Larson or Reddick, and Reddick didn't show what I thought he
No,
would at all. Yeah.
no, I was surprised. I don't know about y'all, but you were surprised, Kev. I was surprised. I was gonna pick Reddick. No, I think I did in my fantasy with the group I play with my dad, and my brother, uh, just for overall like who can finish with the lowest number of points based off finishing position. And Reddick really didn't do anything for me all day. He was there, but he was never he didn't have anywhere near the speed he had last year for whatever reason. So I don't know if it's just like slightly cooler that time of year and that impacted how it ran. What do y'all think?
Well,
And I think
I was
it was kind of strange to see Bubba was the one that had the speed out of that team.
And that was a good looking car too. I really like that flying fish of his. That thing was good looking. That neon fish.
that
Both,
didn't surprise
both
me at
cars.
all. That was good at these integrated baking tracks, Kansas.
Yeah, he
So
ran the wall there kind of like he runs Kansas. And,
yep.
he was up there. I thought he was going to give Larson more of a run for his money than he did, but yeah.
So I kind of alluded to you on the phone a little bit ago that I had a bombshell to drop about the track.
Yep.
It's my opinion. It's wrong more than likely, but uh, I thought of it during the Xfinity race when Larson was leading and he was winning a stage. He was running the bottom and he was coming off he was coming off the corner and staying real low.
Mhm.
I think the track is completely out of grip. Period. There is no grip left with the track. Okay. I think it's been 21 years since it's been paved. 21 years since it's been paved. It, I don't want it to happen, but it might be time to repave it as it is. No, nothing needs to change, but it might be time to be repaving it, and that might be why you see a Reddick start losing his ability to run the wall. Even Larson, he hit the wall like Clint Boyer said like 20 times. He
Mhm.
don't normally hit it that many times. I think it's literally out of grip. There is no grip left in the track because of how old it is.
Yeah, you saw on Larson's Victory Lane photo or front stretch photos when he pulled up to get the flag. You could see the weave in the carbon fiber of the
Yep.
panels at that point. Like it wasn't just like scraped. Like you could see the fibers
Yeah.
individually.
Yep.
It was pretty worn out. So that was, you could tell he'd been not just brushing it, but he'd literally been riding on it for a while.
Yeah, he literally had hit it 20 times, maybe more. And I mean, like I said, I don't want him to repave it, but I think it might be time. It's sitting there baking in the sun for, pretty much all year round,
Yep.
and it's 20 years
Hurricanes,
old. Hurricanes, whatever.
sand.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Sand.
sand, salt in the air,
Yeah.
down
So,
there. So
I mean, I think when you see a car in the Xfinity race coming off the corner and getting grip on the very bottom of the track where nobody ever runs, that kind of tells you that there's nowhere else to go. So it reminded me kind of Wilkesboro the first year
Hmm.
where he was coming off the corner at Wilkesboro
On
real
the
low
apron.
where the grip was. So it just that's why I say that I don't want him to do it. It's just a kind of off the wall shot because when you have Tyler Reddick struggling at a high wall, the only person that was able to do it was Larson, only on a long run. When it wasn't a long run, it was everybody was leveled out. He only excelled when it went over 40 laps or
Yeah.
35 laps.
Well, let me
That's
ask you
when the
this,
car took off.
because we talk about this with the smaller short tracks, and Dale's harped on it for years with Richmond. Instead of repaving it, would you just reseal it? Maybe that helps it. Extend the
Sealing it
life,
might
keep
work,
the
but
grittiness without having to put down. Because
if you're going to spend the money to seal it, you might as well pave it.
I just worry that SMI being notorious for what they
Well,
do.
that's the ISC track.
Oh, is it a NASCAR track? Well,
Yep.
now I'm even a little bit more afraid. But but if I just worry that, you've got this perfect asphalt mixture and it's 21 years old. Obviously, they can't make it the same way they used to due to, EPA regulations and everything. Would they be able to get it back to that coarseness right off the bat, kind of like they did with Darling? Honestly, I think with Darlington,
Well,
for
you just
example,
you just do what you did at Atlanta, not the baking, but the style of
no,
of
I understand what you're saying.
asphalt.
Like I said, I worry that they're not going to be able to get the mixture right to make it eat the tires right away. Like I honestly feel like not with Atlanta. Atlanta, I think we're getting lucky, but I think with Darlington when they repaved it last time and we went back and it immediately ate tires, I think that was lightning in a bottle that they got that right. I don't know how they managed to get it right because they messed up other tracks and at Darlington fresh paved still ate tires for some reason. Yet most of
It's
the
the
other tracks when they
it's the
paved them, it
aggregate
doesn't.
they
So
Well, they get
it's
the
the
aggregate from the area.
yeah.
well, and that's the thing. If that worked so well in, I mean, granted, they go through a lot bigger temperature swings. You get the hot and cold in North Carolina that you're not going to necessarily get. But if you're going to go through and you're going to repave that track, why would you not figure out a way to haul that fucking aggregate from South Carolina to Florida to repave that track?
Right.
Well, it's something to think about for sure. Like I said, it's not on anybody's radar. It's just something I thought of when Larson came on when he was running. He was in the lead. Nobody was catching him, and he was running the low line, and then coming off a four and staying really low, and he kept gaining ground. So
Well, I mean, I can see what you're saying though, because if you look at Atlanta before they repaved it, Atlanta was like this too, where the outer lane was the faster lane, but it didn't have the grip. But more importantly, it had all those seams filled in with that, sealant.
hard.
the tar rubberish sealant or whatever, well, eventually you're going to have to do something with it. So if they did, the other thing I would hope they would do, you can recycle asphalt. Take all that asphalt up, recycle it into it. You add new because you're going to need to replenish it to give it life, but you could put all the coarse stone right back into it instead of starting completely from scratch. Because what we don't
Right.
want is Charlotte. We don't want it's taken what 20 years for Charlotte
Well,
to be a good
they
track
they
finally.
learned you never ever want a completely smooth track ever.
Nope, because I mean they ran Charlotte for damn near a decade before it showed anywhere. You could put on one set of tires for the whole race. It had
Mhm.
zero wear whatsoever. So, um, so what we think about the racing overall? We'll start with the Cup and work backwards. What'd you think about the racing on Sunday? First off, comparing it to last weekend where we had all the natural cautions and I think this is 2 weeks in a row where we've had what is probably the closest to NASCAR pure racing we've had in a long time, where we had long runs, no real manufactured BS, people coming and going. You could see who could kind of manage their tires, different strategies. What do y'all think?
Well, to cover one thing was just brought up in a little bit of the last discussion we were having, not about the aggregate, but before that, when you said you thought that Bubba was going to hold him up a little more.
Mhm.
It goes to show all the way back to even what always made Kyle Busch so good is that level of commitment that nobody else is willing to have.
Yeah, definitely.
He has the commitment to drive it in on the bottom and just trust that he's not just going to end up laying the whole right side in the wall, but get it in there far enough that he's going to get in front of that guy and then take the line away.
Yep.
There's
Yeah,
not
definitely.
Reddick will do it, but yeah, Larson definitely repeatedly shows the commitment that a lot of these guys don't seem to have when it comes to that.
Yeah, it
It
kind of
would have
reminds
been
me
it.
of Indy last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I agree with Alan though. I was kind of disappointed to not see. I think uh, if the season keeps going the way it is, I mean, Larson's definitely going to be hard to beat. But the speed that Blaney has showed everywhere so far this year, they don't have
Mhm.
the finishes to show for it. But Blaney's going to be hard to beat this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's Ryan Blaney's revenge year almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't he had better cars than Joey, but Joey played the system better last year, no doubt, and got things done better in the final race last year. But and Blaney made one mistake, and I was I had asked, and we talked about it before we got on here earlier, Blake, because I was curious. The Cup engines you have to use them twice before you can tear them down, and they got to go to uh, NASCAR before they could be disassembled and rechecked. So what I was trying to check, or what I wanted an answer on was, does the engine usage carry over? So like if I use my engine at, let's say Phoenix for the final race, and that's its first use, does that reset on that engine? I can tear it down at the end of the year because we're starting a new season, or do they carry forward? I thought when Denny's motor got sent back to TRD last year, like going to NASCAR, that it had two, but one was from a previous year, not from a previous win that season, not just the two previous that season. So I wasn't sure 100% if that carried over or not because
It was Bristol and
that's right, the Bristol Spring
Darlington.
and yeah.
Darlington.
So, and the reason why I was going with that is so far we've had in the schedule two high tempo, high RPM on the chip drafting tracks, a road course, and
Short track,
a short track, and then 2
2 mile and a half.
high. Basically, you're damn near running wide open at these two also with Vegas and uh, Homestead. So I was wondering about the wear and tear on these motors is all, just overall, like is his motor tuner doing something different with the gearing or whatever? Because you can move some stuff around to kind and his shift points, or did he just miss a shift on it, or were these previously used at some of those higher sustained RPM tracks and he just bad draw? Because you don't see it happening with his other Ford teammates yet. So
Yeah.
that was my
Or if
curiosity.
it's or if it's just a case of using old inventory the beginning of the year and get rid of the garbage and hopefully have the good shit saved for the end of the year.
I doubt that.
Could be that too, but
I don't know.
Well,
They have good stuff all the time, so I feel like
yeah.
yeah, as I say,
So-
those Roush motors are pretty damn
I mean,
stout.
I'm not saying that they're garbage, but
Yeah.
I mean, you're only going to get so much out of them before, yeah.
Well, I'm leaning.
But yeah,
If I'm picking, I'm leaning more towards. I think his guy that tunes his motor, because you can do some different engine mapping in the ECU and everything, is just a hair more trimmed out than everybody else because he was way faster than Logano, way faster than Cindric. The only other Ford that was even in his league was Barry before at the beginning of the race, before Barry had his issues on pit road that put it back in the pack. I mean, Barry was up in the top 5 fast in the opening stage. So I am curious if they're just
Well,
doing something a little bit
I have
different.
a theory on it, but we'd have to go back on Max and do a lot of investigating. Just go on his onboard and watch how he drives the car, see how much he downshifts, when he downshifts, and then watch Joey, then watch Cindric, and then watch Barry, and see how much they vary. He probably is more aggressive with his downshifting, and probably does it at too high of an RPM. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
They do downshift on the mile and a half now, early in the run, so he
Yeah, 'cause we're at a
possibly,
5 speed instead of a 4.
yeah, he possibly, is doing too high of RPM now. He knows his cars are good, and he's probably just he's doing too much with it when he doesn't need to.
Yeah, because I mean, not this coming weekend when we go to Martinsville, but next week when we go to Darlington, they downshift on one of the corners, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, in turn
Downshift to
3.
Pocono.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Kevin, what was your thoughts on the racing?
yeah,
The
sorry, I
Cup race?
didn't mean to cut you off.
I really wanted Reddick up there because I love him and Larson battling. Because they both want that high groove. So I was a little disappointed in that, but the overall, I enjoyed the race. But as soon as Bowman tried to get up and get Larson's line, I knew it was over. Like I knew he wasn't going to be able to hold it like Larson can, and immediately got in the wall. So and that was it. So,
Yeah.
but I really expected Larson to dominate, and he didn't. He had to earn it. So
It was very uncharacteristic Miami race for him, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do wonder, like I said, when it comes to the way the race played out, how much, the fall heat plays a much different wear on the tires and the grip than spring, yeah, it's warm, but it's only 80 something degrees, where normally it's like damn near 100, and
Yeah.
the asphalt's way hotter than that, and so the tires are being chewed up even more.
Yeah.
Maybe we didn't see as much disparity as maybe we thought we would have, compared to what we normally get with it being toward later in the year.
there was a few that up there at the end that I surprised me. I saw Justin Haley got in the top 10.
Yep.
That was surprising.
Wasn't he 12th, or was that somebody?
He
No,
finished
no,
He ended up 10th.
He ended up
sorry, I was
finishing
thinking
10th.
about Austin Dillon. He was running top 10 for a while, and he fell back to 12th or 13th.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but Barry's, I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised with Barry's the way he's running. And that it almost makes you feel a little bad for Harrison Burton, but
Yeah.
but it is what it is. I mean,
Well,
It's hard to feel bad for the person that's probably was the one dragging the team down.
I
Yeah.
felt bad for Harrison Burton, not because of. I feel bad for Harrison Burton because I don't think he was given a fair opportunity in that he wasn't ready. And when your sponsor says we're ready to go, or the opportunity presents itself, if you say no, you don't know when the next one's going to be available to you.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think Harrison Burton was ready for Cup. I said it when Barry was leading last week. That before he was winning, before he was even up there contending to win, when he was just running up in the top 5, I was like, Barry's just continuing to show why Burton wasn't ready for Cup. And I think that that's a true statement. It's not a negative about Harrison Burton's capabilities, but I mean, when you measure resumes, how many hundreds of thousands of hours at short tracks and it just in a car in general does Josh Berry have compared to Harrison Burton? So he's a good decade older than him, so he doesn't make the same mistakes. He's not trying to prove himself maybe as much. And as a family guy, we all we're all grown adults here. When you've got bills and responsibilities versus your kid and you've got all this money and you don't necessarily have all those responsibilities, you definitely race differently. When you can't, when you know what it's like to be the one fixing the cars and not your dad paying them for them. And, just I think
Exactly.
all that
He,
stuff comes together to show
he
why.
drove for KBM, right?
Hmm?
At one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to parlay this into something. He was not very good in the truck, right? I mean, I think he might have got a win if I remember right, but I can't
Yeah,
I
me
remember.
can
and
remember him winning in the Supra in the Dex white car for
He
JGR.
he won 4 races for Gibbs.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he won in trucks or not. If he did,
I think he was only in there one season, maybe.
it was one season.
Yeah.
But he didn't do much that I can recall, and he was teammates with Noah Gragson, and he didn't do much. But like, to parlay that, like this weekend,
And before
Corey
that was
Hines,
Bella and Jones, and they won rattled
yeah,
wins off in those
yeah.
trucks. Same thing with Byron.
Yeah.
If we all know the Truck Series basically runs like the Cup Series now. That's basically Cup 2.0, and I think
There,
that Corey Hine is showing us without a doubt that he should have a Cup ride right now.
Yeah.
When you're beating Kyle Larson at Homestead in a truck,
Yep.
that's saying
Yeah.
something. You are showing that you are ready for Cup. The fact that all he has right now is a what is
Development.
it called? A development deal with 2311 is crazy to me. Somebody
Well,
needs to scoop him up, and now.
there's we were talking about Burton, and I feel like the new Harrison Burton is Riley Herbst.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't feel like he's anywhere near ready to be in a Cup car.
No, he
no.
he had a breakout season
Monster
last
Energy
year and
is
a
the reason
half.
he's in a Cup car.
Yeah. Yeah, that family relationship and that Monster Energy, definitely the reason he's there. Nothing really to speak for it yet. And I mean, we'll see how the year goes, but so far he's buried down in there too.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, I was impressed. So to your point about Heim, not that Heim hasn't been impressive, but the way in which, so shifting to the truck race, the way in which he was able to go into the turn, the truck would shut off for him to cycle the ECU, throw that sucker in gear, get back to the gas, and pass him back coming out of the turn
Within 5
was
laps. Like,
amazing.
yeah, within 5 laps. He's like, oh, I'm going to take this back from you. Sorry.
Yep.
My bad.
Or sometimes he would just fall back just halfway through the corner, and by the time they get to the other end of the straightaway, he's back around him again.
Yeah.
So, had he not had that, I don't know that Larson gets by him. I think they would have put on a hell of a show for the win, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish it wouldn't have happened so I could have seen if Larson could have caught him, but I think he would have been 2 seconds, 3 seconds ahead of that easily and Larson would have finished second.
Yep. That
It would
was
have been a hell of a try, but Larson doesn't win without the ECU issues.
no, but I mean, just the way he handled that, to not lose all those positions, to not have to come down pit road, to still finish in the top three, to, all the things he was able to do with it was an impressive statement for awareness of the problems going on with the car, awareness of
And
your
to keep his cool
controls.
with it.
So many of these younger guys, you see them, something goes wrong with the car and they don't know what to do, and they most of the time pull down and get out of the way, but they lose so much time on the track trying to diagnose it that they take themselves out of the race. He never took himself out of contention the entire time. That in itself is very impressive, that he was very calm under pressure, knowing where all the controls were and what order to start things in, and just especially at speed. Like, we haven't seen that before that I can recall ever.
Well,
Somebody do it that smoothly.
this is a conversation. I don't know if you remember this, Blake, but you asked me. I think it was before this season started. Who I thought coming up out of the Truck Series and Xfinity Series. It was either the end of last year, or beginning of this year. You asked me, and I said Corey Heim, and you were, why Corey Heim? And I said, just for the simple fact that I respect the fact that he's spent the time in the Truck Series and not just seemed to jump at every fucking seat that opens up just to say I can run in the Xfinity Series above the trucks, or just to say I can run in the Cup Series above above that. He's spending the time to get the experience and work his way up. And I think it's going to pay it just like we just saw this weekend. It's paying dividends.
Oh yeah. I
Uh,
mean,
I
Yeah.
you remember that conversation?
yeah, I do. I remember I wasn't thinking completely clearly when I was like, why him? But you made very good arguments, and I think by the end of the conversation, I was agreeing with you.
Yeah, but I mean, it shows now.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's crazy the amount of control he has, the amount of just how you can tell he's level headed and he doesn't let things get to him, and that's what you need at top level stock car racing.
Yeah. I just it completely. I mean, I guess the more I've thought about it, and we talked about this in earlier episodes, was the fact that this year they took the rookie stripes away from off the bumpers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that then the more you think about it, I agree with that. But just like with the discussion that how this just started, quit fucking rushing these kids in. Make sure they have the fucking experience. Make sure they have that level headedness coming in before you just throw them into what I mean. We watched it with even for the experience and race wins and championships and Indy 500s. Haley was not ready for that at all. Haley was not ready for that Daytona 500. Catherine Legge was nowhere even close ready to being ready for Phoenix.
Yes, she was.
Yeah, well, but you know what I'm saying. But you even watch it now. Harrison wasn't ready when they moved
No.
Joey Logano in. He wasn't ready when they moved Eric Jones in. He wasn't ready. I mean, even Chase. I mean, it took what Chase almost 4 years to win his first race.
99
Was it
races.
3? I mean, come on. Just because they have the name, just because they have the funding, you've got to get them. You've got to get that mindset right.
I get that, but in some situations you can't help it. Chase's situation, Gordon was retiring. I mean, you had to come up. Gordon's back, couldn't do it anymore. Tony Stewart said, "I'm not driving for Toyota." Left. You had to bring Logano up. Same thing with when Carl Edwards left. You had to bring uh, what's his name?
Suarez.
And the 99 Suarez up.
Suarez.
You know, so
you had to, because
They
how many
have
years
to.
have we seen? How many years have you seen all these these veteran drivers that have hung around for quite a while that you don't think you could have cut a deal with them to run 1 or 2 years until that kid's ready?
We'll go back in time and tell them to put Mike Wallace in the 20 car.
Well, hey, Chris,
But
here's the thing: is Mark Martin's only one man. He couldn't drive all of them. So
True.
well,
That's
that's
true.
true. He drove 3 of them in 1 year though. He
He
filled
can
in for
only
one
be
race and 11 for
unretired in
Denny.
so many seats at a time. You know.
Yeah, yeah, one race for Denny when he broke his back, and then finished the season out in the 14 because Stewart was hurt, as well as the beginning of that season until he handed it over to Vickers in the 55. So
Yep. So looking at how everything played out, we were talking about who finished where.
Kenny Wallace is still around though. We can always bring him back.
I'll say, Ty Gibbs finally had something good happen in that he finished a race. Granted, he started 13th, finished 25th, so he went backwards by 12 positions, but he finally finished
he
a race.
ran super good in practice though. That's all that matters.
Yeah, they qualified well, they practiced well, they got an F on race day execution, but at least they didn't end up on the hook for once, which has been his MO for the year. But I think his lack of success honestly comes back to that point we were talking about a minute ago, the lack of time behind the wheel. He did a season in Xfinity and he came in and he set the world on fire and they're like, this kid's going to be awesome. And
Well, I'm going to keep saying this till the cows come home. Xfinity doesn't matter anymore.
I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter, but I think if that's your only barometer for measurement, it does not drive like the Cup car. So
not even close.
Look at Hocevar. He ran the hell out of a truck. He runs the hell out of a Cup car.
Yep. And
I mean, it's obvious. I mean, I think if you put Corey Heim in the 54 next week, well, I'm not going to use Martinsville, but at Darlington, if you put Corey Heim in the 54 at Darlington, he'd run circles around Ty Gibbs.
yeah, he probably would. But again, he's got more years of seasoning because he doesn't have he's got the TRD development type money behind him, but what he doesn't have is grandpa. And prior to that, dad,
Yep.
getting him there faster. So I think he's on the long road to development.
They
And
can't be too much longer. Somebody, I mean,
well,
I'm sure it can't be Retender. He's got 4 cars. We're going to talk about this later, but we got 4 cars in the top 6 in points right now after 6 races. It's unheard of.
well, as long as his last name is Gibbs, he ain't in the chance of getting fired. So
I
just like
don't agree with
just
that.
like Dylan. So Austin Dillon
At
can
some point, you
win the Coke
gotta make
600,
sure
or he
that
can finish last. Either way, he's gonna have a job as long as his last is related to
at
it.
some point you have to put your team first, and you put the 18 on the shelf, and for what? So you can have that for that ride to finish 28th and 30th in points.
I don't disagree, but I would say this is a very special set of circumstances in that not just because, his granddad's the owner. His dad and his uncle both died. The last thing Joe is going to do is bench his grandson. It's his last heir. Like, there's no chance in hell he's going to be like, well, you got to go. Like, that's his only attachment left, to those
Yeah.
to those 2 men. I just don't see him taking him out of behind there. He could get 10 years to develop. It ain't gonna matter. But
Same reason why Larson's still running that paint scheme there, bud.
yep. What are you talking about? That thing's beautiful. I could see it everywhere.
It's literally everywhere. There was 4 trucks. There was 4
Yeah.
trucks on
Yeah.
Friday night that had Hinder cars on it.
Yep.
Was it 4? On
Yeah, it was
7,
4.
07, 71. What's the other one? There was just 3.
They had 4 of them lined up though. I don't remember what they were, but yeah.
I tell you what, that paint scheme is not great for diecast sales.
Nope. Everybody's got a couple million copies of it now.
Hold on a second. Wait, let me turn my camera around. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you got every flavor.
Yeah, but the problem
every
is you only
flavor
need one.
confetti on there.
You only need one of
Exactly.
every one,
And all the confetti missed the damn car this weekend.
So
So finally have a clean race win.
It's
You actually get to.
I think
it
has 1 drop of confetti on the windshield, unless it
it's
blew
a
off
raced
before the
version,
pictures.
not a race win.
Yeah.
No, it's
Race
going to be a
version.
raced win with 1 piece of confetti, but that's going to be a badass car with how beat to shit it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to have a nice looking right side for sure.
Yeah.
Well, even the left side from the damage on fucking pit road.
I was about to bring
True,
that up.
yeah. With Barry.
So what they didn't talk about in the race, so they showed the incident on pit road, and they showed Josh Berry and Logano get obviously somebody wasn't paying attention. With usually crew chiefs go, well, hold on, or whatever.
Yeah.
Spotters do so much. After that incident happened, the 5 crew was looking at video and still images. And coming to the 1 to go, Cliff said, all right, we're going to bring you down. The hole's too big. It's the size of a softball. And they were 20, 30 feet from the pit entrance. And he goes, stay out. We're changing our mind. Imagine if he doesn't change his mind right there. They don't win that race. There's no way.
Yeah.
He would restart at tail end. And, I mean, he would have made it probably up top 10. But there's no way, in my opinion, I don't think he wins the race if he doesn't change his mind.
Yep, and been Bowman's.
Yep.
There were never been pressure on him like that. No, but
I'm just writing down some stuff here. So
it is what it is. It worked out.
So
better be
of all
looking
the
good.
Toyotas, half of them improved. The other half, for whatever reason, tanked in their starts. John Hunter Nemechek started 7th, finished 23rd. Ty Gibbs 13th, finished 25th. Bell started 16th, had that issue, finished 29th. But the rest of them, and Riley Herb started 19th, dropped like a rock, 33rd. But the 23 improved by 6 spots. Denny Hamlin improved by 18. Reddick by 12, and Eric Jones by 13. So half the Toyotas ran good. The other half couldn't find their head from, hole in the ground.
Yeah.
But
All
so
right.
they're definitely, some of them are focused on the wrong things. Like they're focused on qualifying speed and not race pace. You can tell who's focused on race pace and race feel because their performance jumps are quite substantial. Larson finished first, started 14th. Hamlin started 23rd, finished fifth. Busher was 11th, finished sixth. Allmendinger 10th, seventh. Reddick 20th, finished eighth. Priest 31st, finished ninth. Haley 21st to 10th. Zane, like you could tell who's focusing on speed and who's focusing on race long handling because it's netting out when you look at the results.
I was surprised at the end of that race when Byron got uh that pit road penalty.
Mm-hmm.
No, that wasn't Byron. That was or was it Byron?
No, he had a
It
speed
was
penalty.
Byron.
Yep.
Well,
It was Byron got
didn't the 9 get a penalty too?
Yes,
maybe, but I'm
for passing
Oh yeah, they both had penalties.
gaining position. Where he's
but
like,
when
well, I
they
gave it back. What am I supposed to do? Run into somebody or whatever? So
yeah.
I am shocked they didn't call that back, honestly.
yeah. Well, the other thing is, you look at
What?
the Facebook groups or whatever, and you see the chase sexuals as they call themselves. I find that terminology hilarious. They coined it on DBC, I guess. And some of them call
Yeah.
in.
Somebody
But
called and said that.
they were like, the worst part is that Larson won, and I want to be like, I don't know if y'all are paying attention, but he's got 30 wins to your, 16. Even Byron's got more wins at this point. Yeah, Byron doesn't have a championship, but like Larson is the A driver in that house, period.
Yeah.
It's not even close. It's like by a country mile.
Yeah, and Byron's the B. I mean, that's just the
Yep.
way it is. Chase he's dropped.
Whether you like to say it or not, Bowman's C, not
Yep.
D.
Yep. And because he's had the best average finish over the last 20 races of all of them.
Yeah.
Hands
Bowman.
down. And when you look at just the stats that Larson puts up, laps led, laps in the top 5, laps in the top 10, top 5 finishes, top 10 finishes. Chase led in the last year in the overall average finish.
Yep.
But that's not going to get you a championship in this with the way the format is set up, especially with stage points and everything else. And Larson's on pace to where if he sticks to, I figure if he gets 3 races a year, which is easy when you look at all the tracks that he's got, that should be his low number. I think he should be a 6 win a year average for a while. If he does that and he just does this for the next 6 to 8 years, he's gonna be right there on the heels of hitting with Harvick and Kyle Busch in the 60 win mark. No problem.
Can you pull up that list I sent to our text chat about who he beat to 30?
Oh yeah. Yep. Hold on.
I know Mark.
Oh yeah, I
mistake
saw
on
that.
there.
That was
They said. But yeah, he reached
Kyle
30
Busch.
wins.
He beat Kyle Busch to 30. I mean,
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it wasn't Kyle. He beat Kurt. Kyle actually.
No, it was
beat
Kyle.
Oh, it
He
was
beat
Kyle.
No, it said Kyle, but the guy who made the post said it was.
it was
he
Kurt.
meant
Oh,
So,
Okay.
But he beat Mark Martin, Denny
Well, I'm
Hamlin,
not impressed with the list anymore.
Dale Jarrett, Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano, 3-time champion, Harvick champion, Truex champion, Kurt Busch champion, Dale Jarrett,
Kenseth
2-time
champion.
Kenseth champion, Mark Martin, greatest second place driver in the history of NASCAR, and Denny Hamlin, the son of the second place driver in NASCAR. So, I mean, you're talking about one hell of a list to be on. And I did some stats before this year and last year. I remember going through it, just showing it's amazing just how many more categories he leads in. We really haven't, everybody hates it because it's like basically like watching Jimmy Johnson all over again.
And with this past weekend's win, he became the 3rd highest winning Hendrick driver, passing Dale Jr.
Yeah, he leads. He passed Byron as the most wins in the next gen era
last year.
And now he holds that all to himself. And the only thing I will say, I feel bad for the Chase fans in that, welcome to the club. This is how it felt to be a Jeff Gordon fan when he went and hired Jimmy Johnson. Get kicked in the nuts every fucking week, watching your guy over there. 2007 should have won the championship. Nope. 2014 should have won the championship. Nope. Like I should be sitting here with 6 championship cars behind me, but no. Instead, we had to go and hire that a-hole. Boom, confetti. Boom, confetti. So, I know how it feels.
Nice play,
You
nice
know,
play.
I pick on the Chase fans, but when they post that stuff, like I feel for you because I've been there. It fucking sucks. Ask Chris. Mark Martin comes out of retirement, goes to drive that 5 car, wins 5 damn races that year, should have won the championship. And Jimmy Johnson's like, let me
Uh,
take your walker, old man. Bam. And just like
The,
takes him
the
out coming
funny
down the handicap ramp. You
the
know?
funniest thing about all that is ironically the 9 was the 24 and the 5 was the 48.
Yep. So if
Ironically
anything, it's
enough.
it's justice being served in the back
Yeah,
end, is what you're saying.
yeah. Well, it's just irony. I mean, when Jimmy retired, everybody's like, well, Bowman took the 48. No, the 88 switched to 48. The 48 switched to 5. The 24 switched to 9. All the other, if you go down through what happened, the 24 is what the 5 used to be.
Well, if you
So,
really examine it even further, it's just the universe correcting itself. The 9 was not a natural Hendrick number, so of course it's not going to win. The 5,
right.
yep. 48, yep. 88, yep. The 24, yep. Oh, well, it all makes sense then. It's all
Yep.
doing what it's supposed to do. Over here, you got this 9, and they're like, go back to Evernham, dude. Get out of here. Go back to, go back to Budweiser. Get out of here. So, I will say as a 24 fan, even though I loathe Byron, he has the personality of like a grapefruit. But uh, you know, I will say at least he wins several times a year, gets that 24 in victory lane. So that does make me happy.
Why does it got to go back to Budweiser? Why can't it go back to Coors?
It could go to
It was
course
pretty
too.
damn good when it was Coors too.
They all taste like water. Whatever.
Rocky Mountain piss water.
Yep. Get them some paint it purple, put a 17 on it for Crown Royal, and we'll talk. For now. Then we're good. So let's see. Anything else we want to talk about with the race? Any of the 3 races this weekend?
Well, we didn't
No,
really
but
touch the Xfinity race
Yeah,
when
go
it
ahead.
comes to, you know, if you take Larson out of the race, Sam Mayer was on rails.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, Larson lapped up to 6th, but Mayer was 15 seconds back, but he was 10 seconds ahead of the next guy.
yeah.
So, I mean, he was, uh, you know, was a Haas factory team is, they've still got it going on in Xfinity. The
Yeah.
41's fast, the double zero's fast. They're going to be on mile and a half. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with, I think. And Sam Mayer is showing, and I'm sure Junior's probably going, what? Why did I let that kid go? He is kind of hard to handle when it comes to his
I
temperament
don't think that was
seems to
Junior's
be.
decision. I think that was his desire, not his. But
Yeah.
I think
I think it was a mix of both.
yeah, that's
Me and
well, I will
Chris
say
talked
Junior
about
did
this.
mention on one of his DJDs, that like he mentioned it because of. I didn't mean to cut you off, Kevin. Go ahead. Then
Oh, you
we'll.
go ahead. No, I was just saying that me and Chris we talked about this while we are in Vegas, and I was completely shocked with the moves by Creed and by Sam going to Haas, but I'm pleasantly surprised. I think they made a great choice, both of them. So
Yeah,
that team's really strong. So
yeah. Well, I was gonna say one thing Junior mentioned. I think it was two weeks ago in his download is his discussion with having Barry there long term versus and Algar there when Algar won Vegas, when you would get somebody like a SVG or a Connor Zilich for a year or Mayer, some people are using JRM as a stepping stone, which is what Junior wants, but then they're not necessarily bought into the team because I'm just here for a year or 2 years and then I'm going somewhere else. Like they're not into the what's best for Junior Motorsports, they're into what's best for me. Where he's lauded Barry for his commitment to the program, and he's so happy to see him succeed. Same thing with Justin, you know, and he hopes that with Connor, even though he knows Connor's not going to be there long term, Connor's on his path to Cup, whether it's this coming year or the year after, remains to be seen. We think it's 90% going to be Cup, 10% maybe a second season. Just depends on how things unfold, but I think that plays a big part too. And Sam wanting to be that guy. I think, he was openly critical last year when people were being chosen for cup rides and like, why am I not in the discussion for all these rides? So got something to prove. I mean, he was impressive. Like you said, the Haas Xfinity cars are running well. They ran well last year with their small, amount of Ford support and everything, and they're continuing to do so still. So I was impressed.
Their
Yeah.
cup
Well,
cars terrible.
Well, yeah. Well, that
Awful.
that
and
that
that,
program is starting all over again, so I don't have very much hope
well,
for
Yeah.
it.
that was kind of the point I was just going to make. I'm a little confused as to why they didn't. I mean, I understand you want to have your name in the largest or in the highest series. You want to have it in the Premier Series, but with the performance you guys have in the Xfinity Series, why not go make something with that? Why did you take? I just don't see the point of bringing Cole back into that Cup ride. It just didn't make sense. Even keeping one car in that series did not make sense. If you were going to sell it and keep the 2-car team in Xfinity Series, because
Or make it a
I
three
think,
car.
well, or 3-car, but I think they would have given fits to JRM this year if they had more than just Mayor on track in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, I mean they've got him
They
and
do have more than Mayer. They have Creed.
you got the king of second place finishes down
Well,
there right now.
that's true.
Yep, Mr. Second Place.
Mr.
Yeah,
Second Place, Sheldon
I forget
Creed.
about that.
But I do think moving Custer there to start the team from scratch was a bad idea. I
I,
probably would
I
have tried to find a more senior guy if I could to put him in there because if you're building the team from scratch, you kind of need a baseline, and Custer can't give you that. He wasn't in the car last year.
No, but it all goes back to the same bullshit that we've seen. I mean, although Cindric is starting to seem to come into his own, it's the same reason why Creed's in that car, or not Creed, but a Custer, is
Yeah.
because of his fucking dad.
Yep. Now,
Yep.
the I'm going to say it again. The colleague guys are continuing to impress. Allmendinger finishes 7th, starts 10th. Ty Dillon started 34th, got up into the high
20th, right?
20s, fell back to 27th. But,
Wow.
either way, the colleague guys improved throughout the entire race. One of them ran up front, each race they've had at least one of their cars in the top 10, primarily in the discussion, which is a far departure from where they've been the last couple seasons. So I think that acquiring of Ty Norris from uh, getting him from Spire definitely is showing it's beneficial still.
Yeah,
When
and
that happened, I was kind of surprised. Why would you get rid of an asset to help make you successful? But it's working out for at least
I
one
look for
one
Ty
player.
to run good at Martinsville. He used to run really good in the truck at Martinsville, so I look for that to kind of keep going with him at Martinsville.
Yeah. I was disappointed with Gregson, qualified third, finished 16th. I expected him to run better. Haley finally delivered on what you got Rodney Childers as a crew chief. Yes, you've been pit crew down for the last couple races because Larson's guys got suspended for that wheel loss
Yep.
but that has nothing to do with your on track running performance. Pit stop, sure, but your speed
Well,
at track
they would lose. What did Tommy say? They'd lose 15, 20 spots every time they pitted
yeah. So, but
when
that's
they.
one of those things. Look at where 2311 is now. They were having the same problems with the pit crews. Denny and Michael decided to bite the bullet. We're going to get our own in-house crews. We're going to stop using JGR, third string, fourth string.
Now they're the best crews on the damn track.
They won the regular season championship last year, finished in the final four last year. Had not some of the surprise winners happen. Bubba makes the playoffs too, So, I mean, there's something to be said for investing in those personnel versus rent a crew.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Uh,
the Xfinity race was interesting just because Larson was so much faster than everybody, not just in practice and qualifying, but he,
Well, in qualifying, he's terrible.
yep,
Qualified 17th, and
yep,
that's one of the reasons why I thought he'd lose the race when the caution came out with 7 to go, because they pumped the tires up and the car was slow. So Even when he got the tires back on the ground, when going into the next turn 3, he was losing ground.
Yeah.
There was something wrong with that car on the short run. He couldn't get anywhere. So
All right. So that's all I've got for the race weekend itself, other in terms of the racing. But ending that on the Xfinity note there, unless y'all have something else, I wanted to give you an
I
opportunity. Go ahead.
I want to finish up what I was going to say before Blake started worrying about his little closet driver there, Chase Elliott. When when Byron got that penalty and had to come back down pit road, you were talking about the performance drop off that some of those guys had. I was amazed to see they took one full round out of the right rear and a half round out of the left rear to try and put speed in that car because they knew there was only coming back with 44 laps to go when they went green again
Mhm.
to try and give Byron every chance he had to come back.
Yeah.
That shows how much speed they had dialed out of that car to
Oh, to give it handling. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
they did that because they were going to be in dirtier air, right?
yep.
Yep. So So to give it better handling.
Yeah, I was impressed with that too. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah. But yeah, that just goes to show what you were talking about though with the I just the disparity in some of the setups that these guys had, but I just I'd be interested to see. I wasn't able to sit and watch it enough because, of course, like I told you earlier when we were on the phone, I watched it when I listened to it this morning while I was driving because I didn't get to watch it over the weekend, and I don't know how that affected. I'd like to see how his lap times compared, even though he was back in the pack in dirty air. That's not the first time he had actually been back in traffic. How the car compared, making those adjustments compared to the way it was earlier in the race.
Yeah.
Lap time on.
I'll get on Max tomorrow if I can, and I'll fast forward to that point, and I'll fast forward to right before that caution and see how he was running, and then I'll watch 10 or 15 laps and see what is how it looked different with the adjustments and stuff for
Yeah,
you.
because I don't remember where he ended up, but yeah,
Where did he finish at there, Alan?
yeah, I
12th.
don't know how far
He
he did
only
come
got
all the way
back
back to
12th.
12.
So,
But I think the thing that sucked though is having that penalty. He also had to start and then coming back down pit road. He had to start at the. I don't think he was able to start at the back of the lead lap cars. I
It's
think he had to
tail
start at
end.
the
yeah.
tail end.
Yeah.
I mean, coming back to 12th isn't. I mean, that's not horrible.
No, and he was, stage points and everything else. So,
I
again,
do.
and he's when it comes to stage points, he's like a country mile out in front of everybody else. He's got 70. The next closest one is 61, which is Bubba. And then, or no, sorry, Blaney at 69, which is why Blaney hasn't fallen further down than Bubba. Then everybody else. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty impressive in its own.
I do have
Y'all
one
have a
more
favorite
thing.
looking car for the weekend? Mine was probably it was torn. I was torn between Bubba and his fish car. Like I really like the colors of that with the scheme and everything. The helmet that matched it looked really good. But
35 look cool.
the Bowman's car with the different colors, like a tie-dye t-shirt, I thought that was a good looking car. And then even though I know it's a 24, not a 5, Blake, but that was a damn good looking Valvoline car, Byron.
Yeah, I'm jealous of
That
that
was sharp.
Valvoline car.
That was a sharp
Very jealous of
car.
that car.
So
I hate Byron, and I almost ordered a liquid color of that.
I'll show you what it looks like when it gets here.
Yeah, when you get the door.
Maybe. We'll see. Probably not. I haven't gotten a Byron. Well, that's not true. I've gotten one. No, two.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
three. I've gotten three.
yeah.
But
I do have one last thing for the weekend. It's a truck race. I felt so bad for the kid in the 17. I watched practice, and they talked about how he tested last fall, and he ran like 300 laps. He qualifies good, and Ross Chastain puts him in a spot, and he wrecks in the first damn lap.
yeah.
I was like, man, This kid was showing. I mean, he showed hella good speed in practice. Like I said, qualified well, and you get Ross Chastain on lap one.
Yep.
Man,
Chastain going to do Chastain things.
yep,
Just the way it is.
yep.
You sure it wasn't? You sure it wasn't Hocevar in the car?
Not 100% sure. Saying that Hostevar was
The
on
pit
pit
reporter.
road doing pit reporting, I
I
don't
know.
think. So we want to learn about Kevin's
Yeah.
sponsorship.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about that. I'm curious. So you did some sponsorship on an Xfinity car. Uh, I would love to hear about that experience for you, and then just like what was it like putting that together, like talking to the team's marketing and just all the different aspects of it, because I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, you don't just like, hey, I want to do this. Here's a check and a sticker. So, floor is yours, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, a buddy of mine put me with Snowbelt Management. Snowbelt Management. They basically they a few different teams, but they set me up with the SS Greenlight Racing Team, the 07, which that ride this year has been shared by Patrick Emmerling that runs Wayland Modifieds. He's a former champ in that. Alex LeBay is running the road courses, and then Nick Litz Leitz, I don't remember.
Lights.
Lights, okay.
Like,
He's running some. The three of them are sharing, and then there's kind of some one-offs here and there. But got to talking to them or whatever, and we worked out a deal for me to have the back corner panel for 6 races this year. So I did Daytona, Las Vegas. I'm doing the Nashville race, Bristol night race, which is my favorite race. So I had to do that one.
Yeah.
And then we're also doing the Chicago Street race. I sponsored that one last year. Actually, I was on Jeremy Clement's car last year for that race. So we're going back to Chicago. It'll be LeBay in the car, and then I haven't decided yet what my last race is going to be, but I'm thinking about Martinsville fall. The next last race of the season. So.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been a pretty cool deal. Chris came with me to Vegas. We had a good time. It's a lot of red tape with these, a lot of
Yeah.
stuff, a lot of hoops and stuff, especially when they're, you're the little sponsor, and you're on the car with the big, the big sponsor, they've got to make them happy first, and then,
are you allowed to talk about what happened at Daytona? I think it was Daytona. Was it Daytona that?
how I ended up on, yeah, I can talk about it.
Okay.
So what the deal was, supposed to be on the back corner panel for that race. Get there, I'm not on there. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Well, they had signed this deal with Furman, which they do generators and all that. And they have a exclusive contract with Lowe's.
Okay.
So they only sell their stuff at Lowe's. Well, Furman was the sponsor, and there was a miscommunication with the team and Lowe's. They put Lowe's logo on the car along with Furman's, and it pissed Lowe's off. Like they weren't their logo was not supposed to be on the car. So they got pissed and threw a fit and basically told the team they were going to sue them unless they took their logo off and only had nothing but Furman on the car for the race.
I'm
So
curious
they
how you
threw.
would want if this brand's only just. I'm just curious how that would work. So I put your logo on the car. I didn't charge you for it.
Yeah,
I would
I
think
guess
you
Lowe's
would
just
want the
really
free,
doesn't want anything to do with NASCAR at this point.
which is interesting in itself because again, boom, confetti.
Yeah.
All the damn wins and everything. So I don't know what changed in their overall
So
marketing scheme since 2018, but that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So ended up last second I got put. They called it, or they talked to the seed team, which is Ryan, Ryan and Kyle, his little brother.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
ended up on the back
39
court.
and what's the other one? Are they 38 and 39?
39, 28,
28,
38.
yeah.
28.
So I ended up on the back of the 28 car for Daytona
Okay.
instead. So I was on his back quarter battle, which is fine. I like Kyle. I've talked to him multiple times. I like his people. They were super nice, But unfortunately, Kyle had transmission issues
Yeah.
13 laps into the race.
Yeah, I
So
would say broke a drive line, what, lap 13, 15 right in there.
yeah, and then Patrick, gets a top 10. So that kind of sucked, but it was
Yeah.
one of those deals where we worked through it and
So what was their didn't they give you a bigger sponsorship somewhere else or like a
yeah,
bigger spot?
they've been putting me on the almost every race for the rest of the season. I'm going to be on the C post for sure. Like
Okay.
that
That's
was
neat.
one of the deals where they made good. They're like, hey, any time we have the C post open, your logo is going on it for the rest of the season. So,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I couldn't say no. I couldn't be mad about that. So, that's free exposure. So,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's awesome because like I got into, I like you, Bristol Night Race is my favorite. My family's from Bristol. Grew up, going to that race as a kid forever back when you had to be, the tickets were, sell out and willed and all that stuff. And when I got into sim racing, 15 years ago or whatever, when NASCAR '03 came out with the sandbox, 2003 came out with the sandbox and everything, you could design your own cars or whatever. I became friends with a lot of these guys, like Brennan, uh, what's it, Dropo that does Jimmy Johnson's cars and now does all of Legacy Motorsports. Used to do Chase Elliott and Junior Motorsport Junior's cars. Ryan, who does JRM's paint schemes, he used to be in Sim Race and do stuff with me and some of my other buddies. And so I've always been curious, what that's like, whether it's to get your business, if you're a small business owner or whatever, to what that
yeah,
interaction is like, or if you get your paint scheme on the car. Like my buddy got to do some of the trucks last year, the Napa trucks for Eckes. And I was like, if they ask you if you want money or whatever, like it's obviously your choice. Like it was me, I want to be at the racetrack. I want to stand next to my design because this is my design in the flesh or my logo on the car, like for the first
yeah,
time. Like that's a big deal to me. Forget the money. I want to be right there beside it with my picture because that's just a very unique. When you think about all the companies that interact with the sport, big and small, like it's really not that big a list when you think about all the businesses in the world and the Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 1000, and then all the small businesses, especially at the lower levels. So that's pretty awesome.
yeah. Me and Chris talked about this. There's no real staple sponsors anymore.
Right.
There's no good wrenches. There's no. I mean, when you think about a driver, you don't. There's no. That's just not a thing anymore. It's a
Yeah.
revolving door of sponsors, which I mean that's opened up the door a little bit for littler guys like me to get some races, get on the car or whatever. But it's just not like it used to be. There's not attachment with a driver, and that if you like this driver, you like this sponsor too. Like
Yeah.
Folgers for Mark Martin and Miller Lite for Rusty. I mean, there's just not those sponsors anymore. They're just not hanging around. They're
Now,
not
are you
putting the
on
money in.
any of the team merchandise, like the or the track wear they wear, any of the driver suits or anything like that,
I
or
was
the
on
or
the
the team shirts?
Daytona fire suit. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
that's awesome.
I worked that out. And but that's it so far. Yeah, they don't really have all their team stuff is pretty much just says SS Greenlight on it. So
Yeah,
I
I know
mean,
they're
A
one of
lot,
the lower, like they put their money into the car first and foremost.
yeah,
I used to paint a
yeah,
lot of
it's
their
with a
cars.
lot of hand me down stuff
Yep.
behind the scenes.
yeah,
I always thought
yeah,
they had one of the coolest like race team logos in the truck series with the flames and
yeah,
the sideways. This is like they were doing a burnout or whatever at the
yeah.
time. I always liked theirs, but yeah,
But yeah,
let me
The Vegas paint scheme was beautiful. I mean, it was awesome looking, and it was it was the best looking car out there. So I was happy to be on that car. I mean, the main sponsor was crap,
Goat.
Goat Power Bikes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were out in Nevada, and yeah, it was orange and yellow and black. It was clean, it was cool looking, and and with my just straight black and white logo, it looked really good on it. So
Well, I hope your investment, one, I hope it has a return for you first off, but
Yeah.
then two, if for some wild way it can work out, I would love for it to, get a win somewhere where you could get a piece of merchandise for your shelf that has your
Yeah.
logo on that die cast or
Well,
Yeah.
on a hat, on a shirt or whatever, just anything like that, just to, because I think that's really neat,
Yeah.
I would want that. I know if I was doing it, I would.
Yeah, that would be amazing. But
is there any chance it's going to be in the NASCAR game?
there's discussions. So
Okay.
That's cool.
it is possible
If
that
they give us a sandbox, it will be. We'll put it in there. We'll give you
yeah, that's
It's-
still on the fence. They're working out
it's-
the logistics. I think the '07 and Patrick's supposed to be the driver in the game, and they're working on who's going to be the sponsors on the car and which
Awesome.
designs they're going to use. And it could possibly be one that I'm on the quarter panel. So
Did,
that would be pretty sweet. So
Heck
did
yeah,
you
man.
ever
I just-
do any talks just to see how much it would cost to be on the hood? Just to hear it? Did they tell you a number?
yeah, a lot more than
Is it a small mobile
Can
trailer?
you tell us how much that would be just for one race?
well, to like be the main sponsor, like
The hood
it's about 50 for a race.
50,000.
1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, $50. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
They just race at the low level.
So yeah, I mean to
$50
be
gets
like
you
the
one
the
letter.
main sponsor on the hood down the side, yeah, it's about 50 grand for a race. So
wow,
And that's
that's a little more than I
Xfinity.
thought it would be for that team. To be honest with you.
I'll
yeah,
keep that in mind for my bar in New York when they go to Watkins Glen. Like, all
There
right.
you
yeah.
go.
Well,
There
it
you
was
go.
funny. We were talking because I don't remember. You remember Bobby Daughter that you raced, right?
Yeah.
He's the owner of the team of SS Greenlight, and when we were talking to him in Daytona, my dad just flat out asked him. He was like, "How much do you have to bring in revenue, with wins and sponsorships, and just to stay afloat?" And he said 2 million a year. That's sponsorship dollars, that's winnings or whatever, just to keep not make a profit, just to keep the team afloat for a year. One of the teams, not
That's
they
something
have
I
two
would love to do
teams.
with my bar once it gets to, after probably a year or two of full-time operations, if we've got the extra revenue, is sponsor either a Pocono run for a truck or an Xfinity team, or same thing at Watkins Glen, because those two are up there in that upstate New York, northern Pennsylvania area where my bar's located. So it'd be a good activation area for me, or Loudon even.
Yeah.
So I definitely will pick your brain if I get to that point for sure. Just
Yeah, absolutely.
lessons learned, things to think about.
Yeah. And what's funny is I was also told that trucks are more expensive to sponsor than Xfinity is.
Why is
That
that?
makes sense. Well, trucks pay out the purses are too low. They have to get all their money in the sponsorship. Right?
Sponsorship.
And plus, they still custom make all the bodies and fab all the bodies and stuff for
That's
the
true.
trucks.
Yeah, you know what?
as
I didn't think
well.
about that. They're still
So
steel
that's
body, they're
more.
not stamped parts. Yeah.
Yep, they're still building the Gen 6s.
Yeah.
We just had that discussion last week.
Okay. Yep. That does make total sense. I didn't think about it like that, but
Yeah.
well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That was
Absolutely. But
really neat to hear. I definitely hope for good results so you get some TV time,
yeah, he had a bad deal at Vegas. Had some tire issues, but he was fast. So I mean, he was a top 20 car. But
Do you have any other races you get to go to?
yeah, I'll be at Nashville. I'll be at Bristol night race. I'll be everyone's that I'm sponsoring the back corner panel. It comes with garage passes. So
So this is the
Oh, okay.
this is
Awesome.
the quarter. Is this the quarter that's here or the quarter
yeah,
up here?
right there where you just touched. Yeah, that's
The
where
first.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. Okay. For my money, I get to go to the race and stand next to my car and see it like that. I mean, I feel like that should be the way it is, but you don't know. You
Yeah.
know, that's pretty neat. So appreciate that. That's awesome information.
Yep.
All
No
right.
problem.
So let's see. What everybody think of speaking of sponsorships and everything, what everybody think of Denny's Flying P this weekend with his 18
I
race
loved it.
progressive. I thought it looked good. The only complaint I had was the white down around the door panel didn't connect to the quarter panel and come around. Like I just felt like it was incomplete, but I like the P coming down the nose of the tail end of the P coming down the nose, like the mountain.
Yeah, because when it's coming head on at you, it's a it's a full
Yeah.
P.
Yep.
What do you say on social media? Watch out for my giant P or whatever.
Yep.
I didn't see that. That sounds like something
Yeah.
he would
And
say.
it looked good. It looked good on track. To your point, about sponsorship being a revolving door, for them to sign an 18 race sponsor to fill the
That's
gap
big.
year, that's big. That doesn't happen
That
very
is big.
much,
All I gotta say is
especially
they better
once the year
get Flo on
starts.
there at least once.
Yeah.
Alan likes Denny's giant P. Check.
Yep. Riding it all the way to victory lane, baby. So speaking of, we talked about, I don't remember you're Kevin, you were talking about what made you a Kyle Busch fan. So I'm not a Denny Hamlin fan, but I was at Pocono when he swept both those races. So when I was in the Navy, the MWR got tickets. They were $75 tickets and they sold them to us for $1 a piece. So I bought 50 of them. I bought a whole section just for me and my family. So there was 5 of us and we had this like whole section. People would come
That's
sit
funny.
down and I'd be like, get out. And they're like, there's nobody sitting here. And I just dropped like a whole list. Like, how you drop a roll of condoms? It was like a roll of I'm like, get out. I own all these. So I was sitting there with myself, my dad. We tried to blow up
What
a
a
bunch of
dick.
cars because he had the propane on the football helmet grill or whatever, and he's filling it, and it's click, click, won't light, and he lights it, and the helmet of the grill goes flying in the air in the middle of all these cars in the infield and everything. So it was a good weekend, but I was there when he spun and came back and won both those damn races. And when he did that, and you don't know anything about him, I told my dad, I'm like, he's gonna win this race. He's like, no, he's done. I said, just watch. Here he comes. He wins that race. So, like, that's when I became a fan of like his driving talent. And then I saw him win at Richmond and everything. So, he's always been kind of a douche, personality wise, but there's no questioning his talent behind the wheel. So, kind of like Kyle Busch in his early days. Literally will wreck his own family to win. Don't care, don't speak to each other. And that gold car, damn beautiful car. That world.
Yeah.
I'll wreck your grandma to win a race.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's Stuart.
That's Tony.
That's Tony.
My
So,
bad. Whoops.
All right. Anything else for this weekend, race wise, we want to talk about before we get into some of the other news for the weekend or the week?
Nudes.
Sure, nudes
We
too.
can't show that on here.
NASCAR.
It's a family show, Alan.
I'm
What the
done.
hell?
So
You
let's
start
see.
with condoms. Now we're going into nudes. What the hell? This is
Yeah, this is it said race fans only. So we're in the fans only portion now. All right. So get $1. No. I guess they were talking originally they were saying maybe they were going to announce Miami was going to be the championship race officially starting next year, but it looks like that might be delayed a year, that announcement. So, which having been to the championship race down there, I mean, it's fantastic for
Yes.
the weekend. I enjoy it, but I could definitely see the issues that NASCAR has pointed out with the Miami. Like, you are out in the middle of nowhere. There ain't nothing to do there.
There's nothing around.
Who cares?
I do have something to say about that.
Go ahead.
Tear down Homestead then. If you can't get the crowd to show up and they dislike it so much,
Can we bleep this part out?
tear it up, haul that shit to Phoenix, tear up Phoenix, and build Homestead in Phoenix.
I mean,
because
Phoenix
NASCAR
before they redid it. So
but even they need to take. I mean, I get to an extent why they paved that section back, but put the fucking grass back in the dog leg.
Yeah.
Make them race the track,
or make a yellow line rule. Follow the damn design of the track. It's like racing Coda where they just skip the turns and cut them. And
just put the grass back because
if you're not going to follow the racing line, why are we racing there?
Well, we're missing the most important part.
But
the most important part to this discussion is the fact that NASCAR is wanting money from these regions, from tracks that they own, to
Yeah.
host the championship race. That
Yeah,
should not. The money coming in should not matter. You should not be getting 10,000 or $10 million from Phoenix to host the championship race. You should
that's what
be
I was getting.
hosting the championship race at the track that has the best racing, which is Homestead, which is Kansas, which is Darlington, which is Las Vegas. The mile and a half that this car runs good on.
So
Not, oh, we got 10 million from Phoenix 3 years in a row, so we're gonna run it there.
the only issue I have with this, if they're getting the money, is if that money is not going into the championship point fund, then that's a
No,
problem.
it's not.
Then if
It
it's going into
doesn't.
NASCAR's pockets, that's a
It
problem.
goes into their pocket.
Yes.
That's all.
Because NASCAR is profiting in this case. It's about what's fair. If I was SMI, I'd be pissed because you're profiting by shopping around this event while I have no equitable
On-
chance to get it.
On door bumper
Yep.
clear, Freddie Kraft said that 2027 is rumored to be going to Las Vegas.
Which would be, I think that would be a good move.
Yep. It needs to be
Yeah.
shipped
Yeah.
around. But and I was thinking about doing this earlier, but as you guys know, I had to take my dad to the doctor and everything, so I kind of took a sidebar. But I was going to take and look into what the weather was in Kansas on November 4th the last 3 years, because the weather doesn't really get cold anymore until December, mid-December, January. You know, saying it's too cold. We ran the week after, or the day after Thanksgiving in 2001, we ran in New Hampshire. Saying it's too cold is a stupid reason not to hold it wherever.
I could see
Yes,
no racing in some of the
we can't
more
run in
northeast
Michigan, no.
tracks due to weather, but I agree. I think anything from the mid parallel down or mid latitude, line down through the country should be up for grabs. Chicagoland,
Yeah.
any of those should be up for grabs. No question. Kansas, Kentucky, any of that, because I agree. If especially if you were to shrink your season by, let's say, 6 races, then you definitely opens up more options because now you have more warm season options at the end of the season. If you were
I
to
mean,
or shift the season left.
you've got the computer there in front of you, Alan. You can type in Google and ask what was the weather in Kansas City on November 4th or whatever day it was. We'll just go with November 4th, but
I don't know. If you take some of these races to where it's going to be cold, you'll also have shrinkage there too.
Yeah.
Kevin, how do you deal with this guy?
Every day's an adventure.
New one, yes.
Says here, Kansas last year in April 2024. Give me November 2024. Would have been in the 50s and 60s. Would have been perfect racing weather.
Yeah.
Mhm.
High was 64, low was 47. If you do it midday, you get a perfect race.
64. Yeah. Like, what's wrong with that?
Hey, that's what it was in Vegas.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So yeah, I mean that's an option. The thing I'll say about Miami, if the concern is the fans, and I'm all about the fan experience, but from NASCAR's perspective, we've said it on here several times. They've turned the sport into must watch, not must attend.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
why
why does it matter?
why does it fucking matter who shows up? You've already made it clear you don't care
By going to Phoenix for
by
the
going
last
to
3 years.
Phoenix, by going to Chicago, by going and not going to Chicagoland and not going to some of these other places that you don't care how many people show up, or you don't care how many people show up because you're going to North Wilkesboro, you're going to Bowman Gray. So if it only seats 15,000, that's not a problem because everybody's gonna be able to watch it online and stream it. So it doesn't matter that Miami stands aren't full. It doesn't matter that Bristol's not full to them because everything is chasing the TV ratings. Now, as a person that used to attend all those races, that all up and down the East Coast, I think it sucks that they've made it a not attend experience because they've yanked all the stuff out of the fan zones and the, hospitality areas, the experiences for the weekend where, I used to go and I would photograph the cars and I would walk around to the different Toyota's TRD Expo and the Ford Expo and like see all the different show cars they've got for racing, but also their production cars and just
Oh,
the tire changer competitions and like see where you rank on the weekend against all the other fans that are trying to do it drunk and whatever. So, when they take all that stuff out, it does take away from the experience on why should I go spend that kind of money to go to a Miami or to a Phoenix, but you don't really care about that anyway. If the whole point is the amount of money the track is giving you and the amount of TV exposure, then why do you care how many people are up on the damn hill or up in the stands, or you've already made it clear you don't. So you kind of got to
Yep.
pick. I feel like they use the justification out
of
of
going
the
to
side of their
Phoenix,
mouth or
saying
that,
that the
depending on
saying,
whichever argument they're trying to win, they'll use, oh, well, the track's not doing enough activation. But if nobody wants it there, well, the track's doing so much activation. But I thought you didn't care because we're about the TV. Like, you got to pick.
yeah.
So I hope it goes back to Miami because the racing was phenomenal. The last time I was there was the last time they, or no, the second to last time they did it there, and it was fantastic.
Well, it also goes back to what we've talked about in previous episodes as well. Is they bitch and bitch and bitch and bitch about forever about not getting the fans to show up at the racetrack. They don't show up. They don't show up. They don't show up. So they quit some of the stuff with Kentucky. They quit the stuff with Chicago. We don't get people to show. We don't get people to show. Well, look at all the people that showed up to the Chicago street race. Well, Jesus Christ, because that was the only thing you guys advertised for 2 years.
Mhm.
You didn't even advertise the race that was coming up that weekend. It was a fucking commercial for the Chicago street race. I mean,
Yep.
it's like, so advertise every fucking week. Monday
Oh,
to fucking Thursday should
well,
be
if attendance is so important,
Hey,
we went to Chicago and you left 100,000 people at Road America. 100,000 people were at that track,
There was more than that.
and that wasn't good enough. So, are you kidding me?
hey, I'll just tell you, I was at the street race, and there was more people standing on top of stuff on the other side of the track watching it for free than there was in the stands.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
yeah, like up on
So it didn't
Rattlesnake
sell
Mountain or
out.
whatever in
Well,
Phoenix,
no,
where they're up on the hill.
but I think what it does is it went back to something that we didn't necessarily see, and I think that the whole discussion, even though this was set up by Marcus, didn't Marcus have a hand in setting up the Chicago, or was that
No,
all? That was all
that
Ben,
was
wasn't it?
all. That was all Ben.
That was all Baby Ben.
So I think it's a whole nother situation of exactly why the fuck we've seen Phoenix the last as the championship race. It all came into how much fucking money Chicago came up with that the teams aren't seeing. Marcus
Yeah,
Smith isn't fucking seeing.
well, right. So all the money they're not getting there, it brings in the broader discussion of why the NASCAR lawsuit is going on, because it's not that every time NASCAR's lawyers point out, just to shift to the lawsuit as it relates to money, every time NASCAR's lawyers point out like their suit is meritless, like, oh, we're getting more money than they've ever gotten. Yes, from one source, from the TV revenue. You're not talking about the ticket sales. You're not talking about the betting. You're not talking about the merchandise sales through the NASCAR shop. You're not talking about the money that the championship race is getting or these others to bid. I mean, I'm for what NASCAR is doing in terms of shopping around like the NFL does the Super Bowl, but that money should be split amongst the teams because it impacts them based off of the markets for their sponsors and those kind of things. So, you maybe have a hard time getting a certain sponsor to go to a market in Phoenix where maybe that's not their target audience. So now I've got to find something else for them.
Not
So I just think
not
there's all
only
these revenue streams, like especially with the betting, for example, the Netflix series. Uh, we find out about the 10 million for Phoenix to keep the championship race there. The teams aren't getting any of this money is the point.
and
So
now
the fact that you
now
gave more
put
TV money is nice, but how many more billions of dollars are you raking in on the sides? Which is why they don't want to have to go into the courtroom and show all the other revenue that's not being reported and shared with the
you know,
teams.
yeah, put this one into perspective. Every point you just touched on, once those books have to be put on the fucking table, remember what everybody bitched about both years that they, especially RFK. didn't make the fucking Clash in LA
Yep,
and
had to go
how
across the country.
expensive it was? How much fucking money you think they got from LA that the teams never fucking saw?
Exactly.
That is going to be huge.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep. Yeah, NASCAR, they got lauded by the industry insiders for, oh, they spent, 5 million, 3 million, whatever to do the initial and then a couple more to repave it each year and everything to make it a show. And I'm okay with the Clash being a show to entice people. I just want it to be representative of what you're going to see in the season, because if that's what you try to lure them in with and then you say this is what the product and then they come and watch it and they don't get that in the season, they're not going to stick around. So you invested 5, 10 million, whatever, in that 3-year contract for no good reason. Where I thought Bowman Gray this year, for example, raced better and is more representative of what you're going to see at a Martinsville, a Loudon, a Richmond.
oh, absolutely.
More comers and goers, more beating and banging. And hopefully not airborne like Ty Gibbs when he lost his temper.
Which time? Which
Yeah.
time?
But otherwise,
He's done it more than once.
So yeah, to
Hey,
tie that money
we've
back to the
gone
lawsuit, I
we've
just think there's a
gone
lot. Go ahead, Blake.
we've gone 2 whole weeks without a car getting airborne.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we're going to Martinsville where it's slow, and that tends to be where they get up in the air. They run over each other. So we'll see if Ty Gibbs can't jump something this weekend. He is in Monster. Monster does motocross jumps.
Yeah, I just put my ramp out there.
Him and Riley Herbst, they might be able to both jump something while they're out there. Bring Ricky Carmichael, put him in the third Monster car for the weekend.
There we go. Bring Ricky back.
Yeah, put him in a monster truck. He'll
down.
the weekend.
We have his lookalike on here with us.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's honestly what I was thinking when Kevin showed up. I'm like, you said Kevin, not Ricky. So there's that. Let's see, what other news? So Austin Hill's going to get a 5-race deal with RCR. I think the fact that he's, like you said, to the point of not being in, I think it's good that he's been in Xfinity all this time. I think if he does get a full-time ride in Cup, he'll do well because he's had plenty of time to learn and be seasoned. But it'll be interesting to see how he, shakes out, just because RCR is so feast or famine. Think he's going to go in that 3-car?
Maybe.
Well,
No,
I mean,
he's going to
Austin has talked about, doing more on the business side, so I could see that. I mean, he was in the top, 10 where Kyle Busch was nowhere to be found this weekend for whatever reason. They just couldn't find a feel, which is too bad because normally this is kind of his kind of track where, but
Or they'll just go ahead and flip and put Rowdy in the 3-car and then put.
that's a natural fit. That I agree.
I think it's a
People
natural
would
fit,
die.
but that y'all,
People would
dude,
die.
that would turn the fucking sport. People would lose their shit, dude.
Oh well.
I think it'd be great, but it'd be funny to watch. Yeah, it'd be like watching a fucking Tesla dealership right now.
Speaking of a dumpster fire, the
Yep.
9 throwback.
Yeah, so let's get to there. We've had some paint scheme reveals. The 9, that thing is awful.
Not even close.
Don't even
That
come close to matching.
that car is ugly.
Yeah, I'll have to look these up when I get home.
It's so ugly.
Dude, it's a throwback to Ken Schrader's 25 Kodiak car. None of the colors are anywhere close to right. The design is like, for instance, a lot of people get mad about this throwback, the Davey Allison scheme. At least the design was right.
Yeah.
At least
So what is he running UniFirst with the green and white, but the
it's
green's not
UniFirst,
even
In the first.
but the lines aren't right. The color, like they're using UniFirst green instead of Kodiak green. They're using
so it's
on
not
the
the forest
number. The
green.
number is supposed to be a dark green, and they're using like a light green.
Yeah, it looks more like a Mountain Dew yellow, honestly.
Yeah,
It's not
bad.
good. I'll say the best one so far that I like is definitely Carson Quaffles in the Xfinity side. Throwback to Jamie
that's a good
when
one.
he won the 500 and the Brickyard and all that in one year. That was a good looking car. I always like that Bass Pro orange with the simple paint scheme. So
I'd say Denny's throwback to Carl is really nice.
yep, that one fits well, very well done for sport clips.
Exalta teased that they got one, but they just showed a blank car with Exalta, so it's an Exalta scheme. And they said they're
black
throwing
with
back.
the yellow.
They're throwing back to a classic. Me and Alan went through it earlier, and it's like, what is classic? So
Yeah, what's
I
left?
kind of hope that it's what Alan came up with, that it's Ricky Craven's 2 car.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. One of those
That will be
Busch Series
badass.
cars. That would be the
Yeah,
dream
that would be cool.
car.
Only if they do the 24 with that
The
stylized the way
2
the
with the
2
style of
was.
that too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would
Yep.
be badass.
because
If
I
not,
honestly,
there's no point.
because they've run every variation of the Flames at this point. They've run the Rainbow. They did the other one, the Gold Series Rainbow or whatever. So I can't think of too much left from the Exalta side they can do.
Unless they
Especially
did
since
the
his first
what?
paint scheme was the Exalta Flames Gordon ran, so that's already off the table.
Yeah,
The
what's
one the
the
that
color
I told them they
changing
should do,
car? Remember that
the
one?
Chrome Illusion, they already did that.
Yeah, they
Yeah, they
did it.
did that one
Yeah,
for
that's right. They did do
Darlington.
that. Yeah, yeah.
He got lucky and won with it.
Yeah, that's
Now,
right.
But um,
Yeah, I don't know.
the one that I think they should do, because Raptor, is the T-Rex car.
yeah,
Yeah, that would be badass.
Yeah, that would be good.
But
Yeah.
me and Alan both agree that it's probably an issue with Universal, and they can't use the scheme at all, possibly.
yeah.
Maybe.
So that would be my guess in terms of what classics they have left, unless they somehow stroke a deal where they could, for a throwback, do National Guard or do Pepsi or Mountain Dew because they stopped having those licenses. Mountain Dew and them left chasing them a couple seasons ago, and Pepsi left when Chase took over the Dew side of the house. So, you know, there's no real Coke presence, there's no real Pepsi presence in the series anymore. Mountain Dew does some stuff with Colleague every now and then as one-offs, but I just I don't and Drive In Hunger. I mean, Chase is a little bit too young for AARP, but or I mean Byron is, but you never know.
Uh,
But
So
I
I
got to
as
bounce
and
far
my,
though,
as
guys.
cars they've got left, they
all
can
right,
come back
Chris.
to. There's just a very small window of ones you've
Yeah.
got left to before you start reusing some stuff. So I'm
Chris,
almost
you have a good night, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I'll catch you guys later.
all right.
All right. See you, brother.
Have a good one.
Have fun at work.
But in terms of the throwback weekend, it's been one of my favorite weekends for the last 10 years. And this is the 10-year anniversary of it. So this is the end.
Yeah.
What I think is probably coming to the end of the road, probably for this for a while, just because they never stuck to the antithesis of what it was supposed to be about eras. If they had, I think it could have been done better.
Yeah.
But I just think it's
Yeah, it's just nobody stuck to it. 3 or 4 cars would do it.
Yeah.
And
And
like
then
I
some
think
cars choose not to participate. The first year, a lot of
Well-
cars didn't participate, shockingly, or their sponsors wouldn't let them.
Rowdy. I mean, Rowdy hadn't had one for 2 years. I mean,
Yeah.
well, he hadn't had one since he been to RCR. So I wish he would, figure something out.
when he said announcement at 18:51 on Monday, I legit thought it was a throwback announcement.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I thought it was. I'm done with this shit. I'm pissed. I've had enough.
I wanted an Exxon 51.
That's what I thought it was.
I would like to see him do a Rowdy Burns car once before he's done. He did it in his trucks. I'd like to see him do it in Cup.
And he did it for his Prelude late model. His Prelude
Yep.
late model was
Yep.
Yeah.
And
But
I'm hoping that with Ricky Rudd in the Hall of Fame that the 5 team is able to get at least use the Tide colors with. They're probably going to use Hendrick cars, but if they were able to get Tide for a race to use the old 5 Tide colors, that would be amazing. I don't see it
I
happening.
understand why they didn't do it last year because I know it's extremely hard to get Kellogg's. They said to do the things they did last year. For example, certain brands are very hard to do to get to
It
sign
took them 3
deals
years to
once
get
they've
that
left.
done.
So
Wow.
I would think Tide, they're part of the racetrack cleanup groups and stuff like that. I would think Tide would be more amenable to working with them because their long-standing relationship in the sport, but we'll see. I hope. I would love to see it.
Well, the problem
that
is
would-
the last
I
2
love
or
that.
3 Tide throwbacks, they weren't throwbacks at all. Tide was on the car of certain cars, but they weren't throwbacks. They were using today's stuff, and it's like that you're missing the concept here. So
The last
if
real
they
Tide
were
throwback
able,
was Kansas in the 20, and that was a good looking car.
no, there was a Tide throwback last year, but it wasn't. It was on the 47, I think, and it wasn't a throwback. It was just Tide.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't. It was Tide Pods, and it's like That's not throwing back to anything. That's just putting tire
Yeah,
on a car.
Kansas did it, and they had a commercial even like
Yep.
it was him and Ricky, right? They were in the
Yep.
commercial together. Yeah.
Yep. That 2017 car is still one of the hardest die-cast cars to come by, especially in
Yes.
special finishes. Like
Yeah.
that car is still like a $500 die-cast day.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. That's one of the prettiest die-cast in liquid color chrome.
Yeah, the liquid color is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if
But
they
it's
could
hard to
do
find.
Ricky Rudd's actual paint scheme from was it 94, 93, something like that, that would be awesome because that's what true throwback is. But they got number one last year. Maybe they'll do it again this year in the best scheme deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually a Tide Matt Kenseth on eBay right now from 2016. No, it's an Elite. I don't know why they put ARC, but it starts at 250. That's the starting bid.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's still holding its value strong. In terms of throwbacks, those are usually some of my favorite die casts. I've got most of Harvick's. I lucked out, and like I said last week, Blake was able to win me. Surprisingly, for only 350, I got Harvick's Budweiser throwback to his championship year from Darlington in 2023, his final year, the number one out of Lionel's archives. So I've got that sitting over here. But I've got the door number of his Harvick Budweiser Gold the first year that they did the throwbacks. So, and then I've got the door number of a couple other ones up there too. So I'm hopeful that if it sticks around, that they get some good ones. Do we know if Chastain's running a Busch beer car for Darlington or not? Or if
They
it's
haven't announced
just because
anything.
Budweiser and Busch have so many options to pull from? So
I know. Well, they didn't have Bush that year. They did the UPS car 2 years
with the
ago,
Worldwide Express, that was good.
Worldwide Express, and they still do have them as a sponsor. I'm pretty sure. So it really depends. I don't know what if
They
he
could do
has
the
Bush,
flame,
Kubota.
UPS one.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
We still want to race the truck, Chris.
I'm for it. Bring it. I would love to see a brown truck.
But
Yeah, I miss Rowdy's throwbacks. With Mars. The Skittles, the Snickers, the
that Ernie Irvan scheme was badass.
yeah.
Those are, I've only got 48 of them because I've got two 24 car racks, but I've got some more over here in this shelf, but that was by far one of my favorite sponsors in the sport period, especially once they got with Rowdy. They had some deviation before, but once they got with Rowdy and all the M&Ms had fire suits and different personas every year, and you had the different poses on the cars, like the year where Rowdy would always smack the right side of the car, running the wall, and so you had the red M&M, like this was just awesome, or the guy in the back, like getting ready with the wrench. They just had so many good themes in the Halloween cars. I just feel like some of these sponsors don't even try anymore. And so the good thing is it makes the ones that do really stand out a lot.
Yeah.
But
My favorite M&M's thing is still 2000. Ken Schrader's first race, Bud Shootout. It had the yellow M&M on the back, and it said "Keep back, new driver."
Yep, that one was good. I liked Elliott Sadler's black and white one for the Bud Duels. What was it, the shootout, that one was good where the M&Ms were like blacked out.
Yeah.
The ghosted one. And then I love the Star Wars car, M&M Star Wars cars that they ran when it was Gilliland and Sadler. The 38 and 28, or 88. Those were good.
Yeah.
Some great cars. Save me money that they don't do it anymore because now I don't have to chase them around because they don't, I don't have to go chasing any of these one-offs anymore, but it does suck because they always had some very unique cars every year. Like that was my favorite car to look forward to see in the unveil for, like, what are they going to do with the characters and everything? And it was my most hated car because we had to create those friggin' figures in sim racing and design that art, and they're impossible to get a hold of, like the art files and everything. So we'd have to hand trace the damn positions of the hands, the body, and all that. They were so hard to remake. It probably was the most time-consuming car to make for sim racing. Was those cars? Got to place the M&Ms. Got to create the figures. Got to do this. So, but all right, you got anything else you want to talk about, guys?
I'm good.
I'm golden. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Kevin, I enjoyed having you on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for telling us about the sponsorship side. Who do you think's going to win this weekend for Martinsville? We're going there in the spring, which has been pretty much William Byron's playground in the spring lately. The last couple.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to take down Willie B, but I think Denny's gonna get his first win.
Okay.
Ryan Blaney going to come back from 3 DNFs to kick their ass with the same tire he kicked their ass with in the fall.
That might be true. I mean, it's
That could
warm,
be
so
very possible.
I feel like it's going to be, yeah, if it's going to be somebody that's going to be a Ryan Blaney from Penske, I don't see the other two doing it there. If not, I feel like it's going to be an HMS car. I don't, they've basically had that track on lockdown, in the
Especially
spring,
in the spring.
especially.
Spring, for whatever reason, HMS just has it on lock.
I would like to see Denny get back to winning there. He said the other day in his podcast talking about this weekend that he just hasn't been able to get the same like launch feel he wants up out of the corner like he used to.
Hasn't won there
That's
since
just due to rear
2014.
suspension.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's crazy to think that a track that he was dominating is just,
Oh yeah,
he
that was
can't
like the
get it
golden era
grasped.
too. When man,
I think he'll snap out of it, but
yeah,
I'm not a fan of his. But I think
he'll get there. I think if you're gonna have a surprise winner though, I think it's gonna be Bubba. Bubba runs really well there.
really.
I'll say this again. Bubba winning any race anymore to me is not a surprise. He
Well, I'm
is,
not saying a surprise like he should be totally unexpected, but he's run so well there so far, so many years that most people overlook him, even though, even in the petty cars, when he was, not really anywhere to be found other than when they'd go to drafting tracks, he always ran well there.
Do you have a truck win
in their
there?
cars.
yes, he does.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the light blue Wendell Scott truck.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'd say he's my if if a big if one of the usual suspects doesn't win, he's the one I would expect to win. Him or Barry. I could see Barry notching win number 2 this weekend too.
Yep.
Penske car, short track champion, won a ton of races at Martinsville.
He won his first Xfinity race.
Yep.
At Martinsville.
Track championships, all this stuff. I can easily see now that he's in a Penske car. I could see him notch and win number 2, no problem.
I tell you somebody that's an underdog, but I think, and I'm happy he's running good. Ryan Priest.
Yep. He's another one. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Brad, but I'm glad to see Ryan Priest making the most out of this situation. So
I'm glad you brought Ryan Priest up. I had this thought just yesterday about him. This 60 car is a 1-year deal that I'm to my knowledge, and I think the most you can lease a charter is 2 years, and they're leasing that charter from Rick Ware.
Yeah.
When this deal is up, does he take the 6 car?
I think it depends if Brad's ready to be done or not. I don't think Brad's done driving yet, though, so that's a problem.
That's why I said after 2 years. I mean, if this year is any showing of, him slowing down, I mean, they lapped him at Homestead. I mean,
I don't
easily.
think Brad's lost it, but I think there's something to the fact that you're trying to run a team. You're trying to make sure that third car is successful.
Yeah.
You're growing from 2 to 3 and also trying to improve your car at the same time. And you got a new crew chief. Remember his crew chief that he built RFK with, Matt McCall, now works for Spire. So he's starting over in that vein. And I think there's probably some rebuild lag there impacting.
I just think
it could be
this is
taking
all
2 years to see if he's going to be the guy. If he's the guy.
Yep. I think that's what it is. It's all a audition.
Yeah. I mean, and I'd be okay with that. I mean, Brad's, other than his second championship, he said he wanted to accomplish. There's nothing really left he needs to accomplish. He's won.
Win at Michigan.
Well, I win in Michigan, but I mean, He's won the Brickyard before we left it last time. He's won Darlington. He's won Charlotte. He's won Bristol Night Race. He hasn't won Daytona, but we talked after Daytona and Atlanta that I don't think the Daytona 500 means what it used to anyway. So I don't think that's
No,
as
it
big.
doesn't.
I think not having a Daytona 500 for someone like Kyle Busch, and Denny Hamlin is a different discussion than somebody for today's group coming in and not having a Daytona 500, because during their time when they came in, it wasn't like this. Where now, I think if you don't have a Daytona 500, it's not as big a deal because it's so much more out of your control. The cars aren't able to separate and everything. But when Kyle Busch came in back in 2005, when Gordon was winning his, when Hamlin came in 2006, it was still the other way, where it was still very much a marquee event, and NASCAR's people still see it that way. But I think even most race fans don't see it with the prestige that it used to have.
Well, I mean, a lot of your top guys haven't got them.
Yeah.
Tony Stewart never got one. A lot of your guys are going and
Martin.
retiring without getting one, and it's.
Yeah. I don't remember. Did Rusty Wallace win it?
No,
I don't know.
no, he did not.
No.
Rusty, Mark Martin, none of them like that.
So, all right. Well, good show, guys. Really appreciate you telling us everything about the sponsorship stuff, Kevin. Enjoyed having you on. Would love to have you come back and join us anytime.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be down for sure.
Weekly, once a month, whatever works for you. I know you've got your work and your stuff, but we started just by adding Chris. Would love to add you to the mix.
All right, we'll do it.
All right. Well, everybody have a good
Glad to have you.
good evening, and thank you for listening. Leave us some comments, feedback, either on Twitter at our how is it, Blake? I got
UF race
UF.
fan. Unfiltered. Yeah, I didn't think about that. UF race fans. It's fun though.
Unfiltered race
UF.
fans. Yeah. Or in the comments on the YouTube. All right, guys. See you next week. We'll see how Martinsville goes. Bye.